I mean, this went about what I would have expected. I feel like with Lucifero's first display, that there was no way that Asta or any of them are really gonna do anything to him at the moment. It seemed to me, unless Tabata wanted to just end Black Clover fast, like unless it was like a hey, you got to end the series soon, whatever, whatever reasons. I don't think you would have Lucifero defeated that easy, because when you look at the fight with Dante, or really all of the Dark Triad, Morris, as much as I had hopes for Dante, facts are, it seems more like the Dark Triad was designed to be more like these early arc intro bosses to like pretty much the whole of the devils. Like, I know Zagrid came before him, but Zagrid was like a surprise boss and not a. He wasn't the boss in a devil arc. He was our segue into devils in reality, because obviously we didn't have enough about Libe and stuff at the time. But the Dark Triad were more of these, devil buffed humans that, again, formidable through whatever their abilities, were in combination, and how tricky they were to fight for some of the characters. Less for others, obviously, power compatibility is like a big thing in Black Clover. But right now, I think that Lucifero being the focus villain, and I think part of it is early series, like everything from start through the Elf Resurrection, we didn't need a main villain introduced right away because it's early series. And then we got Patri, I can't remember exact number, but like 40 something chapters in. So it's like a year or something into that arc, maybe not an arc, in that saga, because Black Clovers are stories, or they are their own arcs, are obviously, it's clear that there is one overarching plot setup with start through the Elf Resurrection, and then time skip. Everything pretty much from right before the time skip to now has to do with the devils and stuff, the Spade Kingdom. And I would assume that Tabata knew that it was going to be a while before he got his main villain into the whole set of things. And I'm hoping Lucifero is going to stay in that role, because I feel like Lucifero is needed to be in that position. Because like I said, with Patri, we were early series, so we got a bigger villain, and we had some smaller villains to really associate it with. But again, it was that earlier series taste of that when numbers are lower, you're able to let certain things, I think, pass better. And I think that's part of the reason that there has been some complaints about the villains in the whole Spade arc, is because we didn't have one really, or we knew of Lucifer, but we knew he was locked up, and we didn't know his capabilities. We just knew he was hype, but it's well, if he never got out, he was never a threat. Now he's out, and we're seeing clearly, yes, he is in fact a threat. So I'm really hoping Lucifero sticks around for a while. I still really like the idea, if they leave and maybe have to venture outward off the continent, and maybe Lucifero is setting up some form of empire out of the Four Kingdoms, while they're away. And I could see him not being one of those characters that would kill a human if he felt like it, for whatever reason, just stomp one out like he tried to do Asta this chapter. But I also feel in character, him just existing, he's not going to go around mass slaughtering humans. Cats are not flip over. Are you okay? You good? Okay. I'm hoping. I almost lost a train of thought. I'm hoping that with him, and again, I think this would make sense. Say he has a devil castle built, and he actually tries to have a kingdom, get a crown. And I think it would make sense. He's the king of devils. I think he, would logically have a throne and a castle. But I think it would make a lot of sense if at that point, him and the devils were enslaving the humans, and it was more of they treat them like nothing. So if they want to kill them, they will, but they will keep them around for, again, slave labor and stuff. Probably food, I would guess. Do devils eat people? I think we saw some of the lower devils eating people. I can't remember off the top of my head for sure. Or if they need to eat. If they're just eating to eat. Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to remember exactly if we saw anything. I'm pretty sure we saw parts where there were devils eating people. But I don't remember if they need to eat people or if it was something it was just doing to be, cruel. But everything right now, I mean, I assume Lucifero is going to run through the captains. I mean, without Rill's buff, they couldn't even really stand from Lucifero's just regular gravity, just his passive gravity. I don't know if that's going to be his presence of the Demon King. I don't think so. And he didn't name it, but he clearly did something a little extra. I can see it going either way, but I don't think it really matters. Like, he has, like, presence of the Demon King, like, even if you counted that as presence of the Demon King, like, if he said it was presence of the Demon King, it's like, whatever. That's his, like, most regular spell. Presence of the Demon King is really just wide range gravity press. There's nothing that crazy about it. There's not as much, like, utility. It's more just, like, I always use the term trash hammer, because it's kind of like Xenon's Absolute Space or Decaying World. It's just like this big AoE that's gonna one-shot people that are fodder to you. So, I didn't expect him to really have much of a problem. Plus, none of the captains are arcane. And you think Dorothy would be arcane? I still feel like Jack. Like, I understand why Charlotte, Fuego, maybe Nozel. Like, Nozel's a little bit an honor, like, Mercury, yeah, but I feel like the adaptation aspect of Jack's magic should be arcane, considering it's, as long as he's able to cut somebody's attack, he has the ability to adapt to it, because we know how his blades work. It cuts off a small piece of that, absorbs it. It doesn't have anything really to do with power levels. It would just come down to, like, you know, the capabilities of the two fighters. And obviously, in this case, Lucifero is just so much physically stronger than Jack that he's able just to completely overpower him. And I'm hoping as well that Black Clover characters, like, you know, get a little, maybe not, I can't say meta, but they have enough kind of insight onto what happened to realize, like, yeah, I should probably get physically fit. Because there's not a lot of Black Clover characters that are physically built on top of, like, magic, you know, what they can buff with magic. Because, like, when you think about something like Lucifero, Marileona, Veto, as, like, characters who are physically stronger, they've all been problems for Asta at one point in time. And we know that that's something inverse as well, that is, like, it's way more of a threat to a lot of characters because of that. They're not as built to take as much physical damage as they are of withstanding mana. Like, clearly their mana skin gives them a bit of a buff and protection, but it doesn't do it entirely as efficiently if it's just brute force, as we're seeing stuff like here, as we've seen in other cases of characters literally just getting beaten up, you know, going down from hands. Like Asta obviously getting that heavy infighting. That was it. Earlier in the arc. But I figured Asta, like, I was on board with Asta getting his sword broken. I really like that idea. I would have been pretty hyped for it, just to see, like, the aftermath of it. But I think this is fine too. Lucifero just literally stopping Asta, just completely crushing him and putting him down, like, enough that he forced him out of his form, which is not something that I think, like, I don't think that gives you any for sure kind of, like, idea of power levels and stuff for any series. But it's like, if you beat somebody up so much that they drop, like, a power-up form or something, clearly they're done. Clearly, they're, like, Asta is unconscious, he's unable to fight anymore, and I don't think he's getting up. The only way I can see, like, he could get healed. Like, Yuno and Mosa obviously coming in at the end. You have Yuno as a way of, like, getting him around, and then Mosa being able to heal him. I don't think it will matter, because, again, Lucifero hasn't used any spells yet, and he's gotten agitated, but he's clearly not fighting with his full ferocity. Even with the captains, he's treating them more like they're annoying. Like, he's not even, like, trying to overkill them to crush them. Right now, he's just, like, seems to be trying to put out the minimum amount of effort to take them. Like, he's like, I could do it, but it's like, why would I waste mana and effort on people like this that I don't need to? So I like that about Lucifero so far. I think he's done a really good job at just displaying boss energy as, like, a bad guy. And I mentioned this, I think I talked about it in the stream. I don't think I talked about it in my last review. If you have a villain, because we don't know Lucifero in depth yet. So far, everything he said has been very generic bad guy, which is true. I don't think he's going to be a generic bad guy, but in terms of, like, so far his dialogue, yeah, but it makes sense in context to who he is as a character. But I will say, like, factually, this is my belief on it. You can have a character have a very straightforward bad guy personality if you commit to it. A good example of that is Zero from Fairy Tail. Like, he's not a deep character whatsoever.
but he's entirely just like, I want to be a bad guy. I just want to destroy. I want to like completely crush stuff that has form and leave it as nothing. And maniacal and evil and laughing like a psycho all the time. Commit to that, you got a good villain. Like, you don't have to have some crazy 4D chess, mega complex deep villain. Villains like that are still cool, but so are villains that are just maniacs. Like Lucifero just being this big, evil, over-towering bad guy presence. Again, committing to that works for him. It gives it a sense of actual, like, threat on top of his level of aggression on top of his threat is really carrying into it. But on top of that, it's, again, Tabata sticking to it, but not having it be like one of those characters who's just kind of like babbles on about some like bad guy stuff but loses real quick. Obviously, Lucifero's not that kind of character. In the second half, he's not losing quick, but he can have his, despair, fall, be crushed, you insolent worms. Like, he can do that because, yeah, he's backing it up. He's backing up everything that he's saying. He's not looking like a goofy guy. Like, Nozel is a good example of this chapter. And I like Nozel. Nozel definitely is one of my favorite magics in the series. But he was trying to, like, talk big game, and he immediately got smacked. And that's though it's a different situation, different scenario. It's what I mean, where, like, Lucifero can do all that bad guy talk, and he's not going to get just smacked down. He's going to be able to be like, yeah, I'm going to tell you guys to despair and call you worms and maggots because you are bugs in comparison to me, and you shouldn't even be fighting me. Like, I understand it from at least what we know so far, because again, it makes sense. But he's just running through all the captains. I did like, though, when he's like trying to get moves. I will give Marleone actually a little bit of credit for landing, doing another 2 hits on him at this point in the chapter, just because it's obviously like, she didn't do anything, but it's impressive that she's able to get up and put in a little bit more effort than the other people. But when he's just running through him, and Rill is getting ready to try and do something, and Lucifero just crashes Fuego into Twilight Valhalla. I liked that it was shown it can be destroyed. I'm always I always like it when abilities like that, where it's like, yeah, they have something really broken about it, but we find out there is not necessarily a weakness, but there is a way that it's not as unfair. Like, if it's something you can break. In case of Glamour World, it's something that if you have a spatial ability to get out of, or you have something, vague, but still to a degree, like in Worse's case, have something to mess with it to get out. There's obviously a bunch more. I'm just not thinking of it off the top of my head. I mean, I guess for Instant sorta, Soul Chain is really OP, but it has like a long build-up timer. I like it when there's OP abilities and like stuff, but there's understandable limitations to it, where it's like, yeah, that's a fair trade-off. That makes sense. Where like an ability doesn't seem too kind of out there wild, unless it's like if you're about to like have like maybe like the next part, like maybe like a power creep part, where it's like, oh well, this character's OP, but there's a time skip after this arc, and the characters will be more powerful than them, so they could just blitz in one shot if they actually ran into this character again in the future. Obviously, that's up to like complete fan theories and speculations when it comes to ideas like that. But for right now, I really only see them leaving. I really only see that they could get out and run. It's gonna really just depend on how they escape and Tabata's plan of keeping Lucifero from following them. And I like the idea that he's gonna get his kingdom built, and he's just gonna be like, I don't care about them. They can run. They're not gonna do anything. Which I could see. I know obviously anti-magic, he knows anti-magic can affect him, but I think that if he has other priorities he wants to get to and they just run, I don't think he would care that much. Maybe it'll be one of those things where it's like, if you followed up on that and went after Asta that day, you would have won, but you decided to underestimate him and like neglect him, and it's like kind of look down on like his capabilities, and have like a moment like that to set up for the end. I think that would be really cool, because I think that would be a really nice finale moment of tying into like the thing about like underestimating Asta and like underestimating the main character and the humans and stuff. that we had early in the series. But anyway, well, not humans, because obviously we had mostly just humans at the start, but you know what I mean. Anyway, on that note, comment below, thumbs up the video. Very fast read chapter, I do want to mention that. Very quick to read. Obviously, it was more of an action, not a lot of dialogue. We still don't know anything about the second gate devil. He's just there looking like he's got cloves of garlic on his shirt. But, I want to know what Yuno does in the next chapter. I will say, actually, one small thing. When the spoilers came out and they're saying like Yuno is able to move under the gravity because of star magic having gravity to his stars or something, I thought that was a bit silly because I understood why, but like Yuno's stars, like it's magic. It's more of like the idea of like a Disney star magic, where it's like more about the energy and it's, you know, obviously more about the number of stars with the different shapes and abilities they do. It's less heat, you know, giant ball of flaming gas and stuff. It's way less that. So I thought that was just silly. It looks more like he's just doing it in monozone or something. But anyway, other than that, comment below. Thumbs up the video, but friend, like, and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But in that, I appreciate everybody started subscribing. Thank you all for listening. Bye.